Hey guys, and welcome to our Week 1 recap. Let's go ahead and jump right in here to our first matchup. Let's hit it. In our first matchup, we have the Same Darnold Jets taking on the London Silly Nannies. For the Same Darnold Jets, rookie running back for the Giants, Saquon Barkley rushed for 106 yards and had a touchdown for 21.3 points. Wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr., OBJ, had 110 yards receiving, 23.8 points, and a strong defensive showing for Baltimore. They had 2 picks off of Nate Peterman. Hopefully the Nate Peterman era is over in Buffalo for 19 points. Unfortunately, Joey Bosa, the surprise 6th-round individual defensive player draft pick by the Same Darnold Jets, was injured and had no points, and tight end Njoku only managed to get 13 yards for the Same Darnold Jets, who are taking on Ray Rice, who's 1-0 next week. Moving on the other side of things, we have the London Silly Nannies. Alvin Kamara exploded for 3 total touchdowns and almost 150 total yards for 46.7 points. Both wide receiver Keenan Allen and Adam Thielen had over 100 yards and combined for over 50 points. And QB Alex Smith worked out quite well for the London Silly Nannies. Had 2 touchdowns, 25.7 points. They'll be taking on Team York next week, who was 0-1. Final score in this one was the London Silly Nannies 191.1 to the Same Darnold Jets 140.5. In our second matchup, we have Team York taking on Rumpel. Team York looked great on paper at the beginning of the season, which we discussed. However, some things went wrong this week. QB Andrew Luck actually had a very nice game, at 26.4 points, throwing the ball 53 times in his first game in quite some time. And tight end Rob Gronkowski had 123 receiving yards and a touchdown. However, there was no production from Calvin Benjamin at wide receiver or LaShawn McCoy at Buffalo, as Buffalo got blown out and couldn't establish a running game. And the two combined for under 5 points. Not to mention the New Orleans defense gave up 42 points and ended up with a negative 9 points for Team York. They'll be taking on London Silly Nannies next week, looking to rebound. On the other side of things, Rumpel had a lot of prove-it players who proved it this week. QB Patrick Mahomes had 4 touchdowns for 37.8 points, and the running back James Conner, who's filling in for Le'Veon Bell as he's still holding out, had 135 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns for 35.7 points, and they still tied the Browns. Devontae Adams, wide receiver, 24.4 points. However, Chris Hogan and the tight end Ingram and the flex Watkins just over 10 points combined. They'll need to look to pick it up next week. And can this team replicate the success that they had next week against Flying High like an Eagle, who is 0-1? Final score in this one, Rumpelstiltskin, 174.8. Team York, 117.7. And you really got to appreciate that Spider 2Y banana logo. Very nice. In our next matchup, we have Flying High Like an Eagle taking on Ray Rice Counseling. Flying High Like an Eagle had Drew Brees, who got 41.3 points, and Tyreek Hill, who had 53.3. Combined, the two accounted for over half of the total score, and 600 yards and 6 touchdowns. However, Mike Wallace didn't have a single point, and Jimmy Graham really disappointed in his debut with the Packers, only collecting 8 yards. On the other side of things, Ray Rice Counseling, most teams would have been blown out by those two, Drew Brees and Tyreek Hill. However, quarterback Kirk Cousins had 26.4 points, Juju Smith-Schuster had 24.6, and Mike Evans had 36.5, and this ensured that this one was going to be close. And last night, the Rams against the Raiders gave the edge as they collected 18 points. Ray Rice Counseling is going to be playing the Same Darnold Jets next week, who are 0-1. Flying High Like an Eagle taking on Rumpelstiltskin, who is 1-0. And the final score in this one went to Ray Rice Counseling, 186.6. Flying High Like an Eagle, 171.5. And to our next matchup, we have Edel Cielter taking on Team Blessum. And Edel Cielter was the tale of poor performances and injuries, unfortunately. QB Matt Ryan completed less than 50% of his passes against a good Philadelphia defense. Leonard Fournette was injured and only had 41 yards. His other running back, Jamal Williams, only managed to get 47 yards. Tight end Greg Olsen was also injured. One good thing, though, was the trade for Michael Thomas proved to be fruitful in this first week as he exploded for 180 yards, 42.4 points, and Jarvis Landry and the Minnesota defense were good as well. Edel Cielter were taking on the 0-1 Adrian's Daycare next week. Team Blessum had a good performance out of QB Andy Dalton and had Julio Jones 169 yards as wide receiver for 36.4 points. And the individual defensive players are really the story for Team Blessum as they combined for 49 points total, including an incredible game by Khalil Mack with a sack, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, and an interception. And that was the difference in this one. Ed Alcialter 169.1, Team Blessum with 185.2 thanks to those defensive players. And it really gave the edge to Team Blessum this week. We had Team Fitz-Nest on him, taking on Adrian's Daycare. Fitz-Nest on him had Randall Cobb for 142 yards and a touchdown, 35.8 points, and QB Tom Brady, who had 3 touchdowns for 28.9 points. Adrian Peterson, in his debut with the Washington Redskins, had 96 yards on the ground and a touchdown for 28.9 points. So yes, the man himself, AP, betrayed Adrian's Daycare, his own daycare, and when we check out that side of things, quarterback Aaron Rodgers had an awesome game, proved worth that first round pick, at least in week 1, with 3 touchdowns, 32.9 points, and played injured. A.J. Green and Jordan Reed had very good showings, but a disappointing outing from Derrick Henry and the San Diego defense and special teams, who combined for negative 0.8 points, and that really sealed the fate of Adrian's Daycare, though Isaiah Crowell and Cooper Kupp last night really made things interesting as they combined for 40 points, but it just quite couldn't overcome the deficit that Adrian's Daycare was already in. Team Fitz-Nest on him will be taking on the Tampa Two-Steppers, who are 1-0 next week. That'll be a good matchup. And Adrian's Daycare will be taking on Ed Alcialter, who are 0-1. The final score in this one was close. Team Fitz-Nest on him, 180.7. Adrian's Daycare, 172.1. And in our final matchup of Week 1, we had the Tampa Two-Steppers taking on Vic's Dog Sitting Service. The Tampa Two-Steppers really did something special this week. Melvin Gordon and Jay Ajayi's 2 running backs combined for over 50 points, and both of them had 2-point conversions as well. Jacksonville's defense and special teams combined for 14.5 points, and a nice showing for them. The Vic's Dog Sitting Service had Russell Wilson throw 3 touchdowns for 26.3 points. Wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders had 135 yards and a touchdown for 34.5 points. But disappointing outings from Kareem Hunt, who only managed 4.9 points, and Charles Clay, who did not catch a single pass in Buffalo, thanks to Nate Peterman and Allen. And what the difference in this one was a missed field goal by Chris Boswell. Had he made that field goal, Vic's Dog Sitting Service actually would have won. Instead, Tampa Two-Steppers will get the win. Tampa Two-Steppers are taking on Fitz-Nest on them next week, who's 1-0. Look out for that matchup. And Vic's Dog Sitting Service will take on Team Blessum next week. The final score in this one was Tampa Two-Steppers 143.4, Vic's Dog Sitting Service 136.5, in what proved the closest matchup of the week. And a check-in on our standings here after Week 1. We've got Team Fitz-Nest on them and Rumpel in the East, who are 1-0. In the Central, we've got the London Silly Nannies and Team Blessum, who are both 1-0. And in the West, we've got Ray Rice Counseling and the Tampa Two-Steppers leading the pack, each at 1-0. And that is it for our Week 1 recap. I'll speak to you all Week 2, where I'll make more excuses for why my team lost. I look forward to it. We'll speak with you then.